Alright, we are back for what I think is our final day. Let's roll into it. I had a terrible thought while I was editing the last video. What if I'm supposed to fail? Like, what if I'm sacrificing all these people for the, for whatever is my boss man? I don't know. I guess let's find out. I am completely playing this blind. I haven't seen anybody else play it. Alright. Employee 036, we are happy to report that we are most pleased with your labors and are currently making all the necessary preparations for your impending descension, assuming you pass the trial. The soil is fertile. Keep up the great work, and thanks for working through the weekend. Yes, you're welcome. I didn't have a choice, I don't think. Oh no. The whole system went down. The trial hath begun. Oh no. We are many. We are above. We are followers of our queen. What are we?
Please hold.
Is it the Dorcha? I'm gonna say the Dorcha. Showcase thy knowledge. No. I am not living, yet I clatter. I am small, I am weak. I serve my purpose, then I die. What am I? Small, I am weak. I serve my purpose, then I die. What am I? I don't know.
Hold.
What? Okay, could be false artifact. I have no idea. Oh no. Guess I'm gonna. I don't know. I don't know. This is not where I was expecting to go with this. Forge ahead. I'm doing badly, aren't I? I'm gonna guess the screen shaking is a bad answer. I am the beggar, I am the creature of the dry, I am friend to the water of the sky. What am I?
Please hold.
Wasn't there the... I'm gonna say rain nymph, just because I don't know. Pass on, employee. I am the harbinger of death. I am the bringer of pestilence. I am forever the nuisance. What am I?
Please hold.
A fly? Do we have flies? I don't know. There's cockroaches. Housefly. Now let's see if the screen shakes. Rejoice. I seek the domains of those who have too much. Step within and they lose their way. What am I? Oh, you're
Please
a
hold.
labyrinth. Expand thy mind. Okay. We are companions of the gardens. We compel those who tread to tread no longer. What are we?
Please hold.
Seedlings? I'm gonna guess seedlings. Let go thy stilted soul. I like my soul, though. It does the best it can. Look at the face. I am the dancer. I am the bringer of destruction. I consume the weak and the reckless. I am the forsaken oil and the careless light. What am I?
Please hold.
I don't know. So we got the reanimation. I am the dancer, I am the bringer of destruction. I consume the weak and the reckless. I am the forsaken oil and the careless light. What am I? No. Oh, I'm gonna say house fires. descend. I am the seeker. I am the one who delivers. What am I? I am the seeker and I'm the one who delivers.
Please
What am I?
hold.
Portal, maybe? Again, keep in mind this is completely blind playthrough and I am just guessing the best that I can. I will do a speed run where I get the correct answers. Oh, the screen didn't shake. Oh, did I get that one wrong? Or did I get it right?
Hello, Supervisor Carol here.
Look at Carol's eyes.
We've been watching you closely. For all this time, you have been providing excellent and accurate answers to our callers. These acts will not go unrewarded, and I'm pleased to report that you have qualified for a promotion. Please stand by while I prepare thy promotion.
Carol, are you wearing special contacts? Or did you take your contacts out?
Promotion in progress. Please stand by.
Please, be not afraid. Come close. Congratulations! All hail our new junior supervisor!
Regine, promotionen in secula contractus regine, promotionen. Regine, promotionen in secula contractus regine, promotionen. Regine, operire, haederum, caudete, mahavum desiderio, moamemus dime hamus, regine, operire, haederum, caudete, mahavum desiderio, moamemus dime hamus, regine, promotionem in secula contractus regine.
WTF. Oh, we have a new death. Awesome. Oh, we got an art book. Hi, I'm Nick Lives, the creator of Home Safety Hotline. If you're here reading this, it hopefully means you're invested enough in this game to be curious about its development. If so, you've come to the right place. This is a peek into the game's art, development process, and all the human messiness that entails. I hope you enjoy this thorough and admittedly indulgent look into what went into making Home Safety Hotline the game it is right now. When I was maybe 10 or 12 years old, my grandmother gifted me a Dungeons & Dragons monster manual she picked up from a thrift store. Immediately, I fell in love with this book. Despite having no idea what its purpose was, I would scour its pages constantly, learning everything I could about its many, many imaginative creatures. Since I started developing games, I'm very much wanted to make a game about the pure joy experienced flipping through a bestiary. Many games have featured in-game bestiaries, but rarely is it important to actually read through them in much detail. My first attempt at crafting a game based around my love for bestiaries was a game aptly titled Bestiary, a fantasy game in which you would play as a researcher, testing the dead bodies of monster corpses with various magical implements in an attempt to write an accurate bestiary entry for them, noting properties as you went. This prototype never really made it past the conceptual stage, with these concept art pieces and a crude interactable UI being as far as I took it. I wasn't fully happy with this direction as it was rather art-heavy, seemed too generic, and felt like the activity that inspired it. Or felt little like the activity that inspired it. I would have actually loved that. I don't know. Okay. A new magic. Skip ahead a while, and my wife and I wind up both getting jobs as actors at a local fantasy theme park called Evermore Park, in which she played a playful fairy, and I voiced and puppeteered this big monster called the Fae King. This part gave a lot of improv freedom to its actors, and my wife and I both wound up really stretching some creative muscles while we were there. Every day we'd be crafting up stories on the spot for guests and improvising scenes with other actors. Eventually, many of the actors quit or were let go, but the park left a substantial creative void within many of the people who worked there, myself included. As time went on, I sorely missed the performing and improvising with other actors, and the constant but rewarding creative challenge of tale weaving and lore crafting on the fly. 1-800-Bestiary. During the pandemic, as things felt increasingly dire and lonely, I wrote up a new design document entitled 1-800-Bestiary, a game about answering calls for a hotline that prescribes solutions to various kinds of monster problems. The hope was, with the caller angle, I'd be able to wrangle a bunch of actor friends into this fun and quick project, and maybe we all get a chance to recreate some of that creative spark. And I finally get to scratch my childhood bestiary itch. Alas, other priorities came up with other projects I was developing, so this remained on the back burner for another 3 years. At the end of 2022, I released a horror game called Night Signal that I've been trying to finish for the past few years, and while the game didn't perform great financially, it sure seemed to resonate with those in YouTube's comment sections. Because I'm a weak human who craves validation, I get it. Naturally, I read each and every comment as it came in. I see some people say Night Signal reminded them of something called analog horror. I gave in to curiosity and started going down this analog horror rabbit hole. And once again, I immediately fell in love. Here was this incredibly fascinating subgenre of horror that oozed with creativity in its second-hand approach to storytelling, all while being wrapped in an instantly recognizable and nostalgic aesthetic. Gemini Home Entertainment in particular quickly became a favorite, with its more subdued approach in presenting its horror so matter-of-factly, buried inside informational videos about mundane topics like wildlife and camping. During my newfound love affair with analog horror, it occurred to me at some point that the genre would be a perfect match for my 1-800 gameplay concept, and right away I revived the pitch and started on crafting a working prototype. I settled quick on a Windows 95 inspired interface since analog horror was frequently channeling 90s era media formats, and it felt like the only natural digital equivalent. I only crafted this quick proof of concept piece before building the interface engine and iterating from there. The new work title was now Lunar Archives, as I tentatively decided the new concept would revolve around aliens. At this time, the idea was that the aliens and monsters could be from anywhere in the world, since that opened the largest number of creative possibilities. I struggled to come up with interesting monsters in such a broad setting, however, and it didn't feel really scary yet to read about a monster that lives nowhere near me. It lives in your house. The bestiary entries increasingly felt like they needed to be more personal to be scary. So I decided the monsters should all be things that live in your house. Out of curiosity, I asked my wife one day if she knew of any folklore about monsters that live in your house? The answer was goblins. Oh, hell yes, now we're talking. I excitedly grabbed one of my sketchbooks so I could doodle up some weird gobos and the new, more fitting title idea. As soon as I started reading up on the house goblin folklore, I instantly felt like a kid again, and monster ideas just started flowing out. The first monster design I did was this first hob photo. I dove right into Photoshop and started painting my interpretation of a little goblin into a photograph of a living room. Trevor Henderson style. I gave him little troll doll style tufts and some simple slits for eyes, trying to evoke Guillermo del Toro, sorry if I slaughtered that, esque spirit of grounded, scary but whimsical. After drawing my first hob, I got a little carried away in my sketchbook, dreaming up different varieties of these weird little guys and detailing how they would function. Different hair and false faces would denote different species and bring them closer in line with the big-nosed goblin designs everyone is familiar with. It didn't take long for me to go deep diving into Wikipedia to discover even more stories of Fae and began interpreting them under the lens of my newfound design ethos, creating each creature as though it were simply some kind of bizarre animal. The idea for the inflatable trolls came from a mix between folklore of trolls and spriggans, where spriggans were said to be small creatures that could grow to enormous size. When I read this, it made me think of pufferfish, and I laughed as I tried to picture what such creature would look like when deflated. I gave this ability to the trolls because folklore usually portrayed them as too big to enter people's homes, and spriggans felt like they had plenty of distinctive qualities already. Oh, why did I do this to myself? I ask myself that all the time. When drawing monsters, frequently I find myself having to paint the entire monster in order to get certain poses to feel accurate before erasing parts of them later to hide them behind some furniture or blurring them into oblivion. And then, of course, they would be crushed into tiny pixels by the end anyway. Less is more, after all, but I still had to draw them more to get there. Silly scares. I'm scared by a lot of stupid, silly things. As such, both humor and horror can feel like one of the same sometimes. When I read about the stories of the puka who pretend to be a horse just to buck people around to scare them for a laugh, I thought of what the indoor modern equivalent might be, and immediately thought of those viral photos of tiny dogs creepily staring at their owners. This is the result, and it might be my proudest artistic achievement. Gnome problem. These gnomes in particular may have suffered the most from the reduction in image fidelity when compared to their paintings, so here they are in their higher definition glory. Check them out. Check out them little guys. That is actually really cute. And you're right, it did suffer from being shrunk. The spriggan by far may be the hardest creature to spot. All throughout development, I asked playtesters to try and find the spriggan. No one has found the spriggan. I can consider this a failure on my part as a designer, but instead I left it as is. In the final product, make of this what you will. The troll is another creature that I painted in far more detail before blurring him to hell and back. So here he is in all his wrinkly, deflated glory, for your viewing pleasure. The Bogart is maybe the most traditionally spooky creature I've designed for HSH, with his uncanny human-like face and long, slender figure. After reading into Bogart lore and finding out that they are sort of the forefathers of our modern-day boogeyman, it seemed only fitting to make the Bogart more traditionally ghoulish. The scruffy fella. The trash gnome was inspired by a fan suggestion, described as Oscar the Grouch, but worse. The thought of a muppety creature with a large mouth that lives in trash was too entertaining to pass up. To create the trash gnome, I took a photo of a raccoon and rearranged the eyes and head to create our scruffy little friend here. This was once again another creature where I created more than would be seen in the end result. To source photographs for entries, I would browse free used CCO photograph libraries for photos that would look like they would be perfect for photoshopping a monster within. But on occasion, I would stumble upon a photograph that was so intriguing on its own that I would be inspired to write an entry for it as is. This photo, for example, by Tasha, was immediately captivating and inspired the Mirror Nymph entry on its own. I changed the skin tone to up the creep factor slightly, but the photo is otherwise unaltered. hidden in plain sight. Making people question ordinary objects in their home is both quite funny and quite creepy, and that's something these fan-suggested entries Soap Sprite and Laundry Gnome exhibit quite well. The design for sprites was intended to be a mix between mosquitoes and more traditional fairy designs. In general, I am frightened of most flying insects, so I wanted the idea of having a little fairy in your home to give people like me the shivers. The Warlock Remnant is, in fact, the edited photograph of me wearing a Halloween mask from my childhood, along with the cheap vampire costume I had from past Halloweens. Felt cute, might delete later. Exclusive deals. The concept of coupons came about after I received feedback from demo players asking for more motivation for playing the game. Well, since playing the game poorly would net you more interesting content in the form of consequence calls. I thought that pointless employee discounts for products offered by HSH would make for funny yet lore-heavy content for high-scoring incentives, and base the look for the product images off 90s infomercial ads. A ratty end. Originally, the game over ending was much simpler end to the point where Carol firing the employee and wiping their memory before sending them on their way. After the promotion ending was written, it was decided to come up with something a little more whimsical for the game over to be better suited to the world of HSH. Inspired by Roald Dahl's The Witches, we came up with the idea that Carol should turn the player into a mouse instead. On the morning of the shoot, I molded these props from air-drying clay, painted them with acrylic paint, and then hastily glued some fake craft store fur onto them. David then held these in front of the camera while I filmed the ending on my living room floor. Riddle me this. Originally, the player received the promotion at the end of the shift on Saturday, but it felt a bit too abrupt to go from an otherwise normal workday to the game's fantastical ending in the span of a single call. After a bit of brainstorming, we wound up coming up with a dedicated final trial day, where you would be called by cryptic cloaked callers testing your knowledge with riddles, all without having access to your database information. When the game's ending was written, in order for the music to be composed for its early on, the crude animation storyboard, or animatic, was created in order to dictate the pacing and structure of the ending so music could be written for it. The animatic and music would later also serve to guide the pacing of the actual shoot, with David shouting out the appropriate cues as we filmed. The promotion crown was a unique prop I hot glued together out of various craft store materials, including a small wreath, little curvy sticks, and fake mushrooms. Given the player is only getting their first promotion, the materials involved are all more crude and common than the more lavish crown that Faye Carol wears. In addition to playing the role of Carol, Courtney also designed the final makeup and costume look for the Faye Carol in the game's ending cutscene, depicting Carol in her truer, more ancient form. In Courtney's own words, "I want to look like a proper swamp witch." Faye Carol's costume was also pieced together by Courtney herself, utilizing stress netting, faux moss, and a stressed black skirt, and finally topping it all off with a crown fashioned from fake twigs and leaves. And that is the end. That was actually kind of interesting. All right. So, we got the good ending. And I don't know how I feel about that. Alright, I'm gonna go through real quick and get the correct answers in another video. It'll be a quick speed run. So thanks for keeping me company, and I'll see you back in another video very quick.